Hello and welcome. Look, if you've ever found yourself just wide awake in the dead of night, staring at the ceiling while your brain decides to host its own little festival of anxieties, then this explainer is definitely for you. We are going to dive deep into the science behind that super frustrating and super common experience of waking up at 3 a.m.
Does this scene feel familiar? Your mind is suddenly just racing, right? Running through every mistake you've ever made, every bill that's due, and hey, maybe a full-blown existential crisis just erupts out of absolutely nowhere. And the silence, the profound silence of the house, it just makes the chaos in your head feel that much louder. It's a uniquely frustrating and honestly a deeply lonely feeling.
So, if you're nodding along right now, then consider this your official welcome. You are now a member of the 3 a.m. Wake Up Club. And it's not a very exclusive club. And let's be honest, the amenities are terrible. There are no snacks, just a rotating menu of anxiety and exhaustion. But the good news is, you are so far from alone in this, and today, we're gonna figure out exactly how to resign your membership for good. All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll explore what it really means to be in this 3 a.m. wake-up club. Then, we're gonna uncover the biological wake-up call that's kind of programmed into all of our bodies. After that, we'll take a look at the anxious mind at night and figure out why our worries feel so much bigger in the dark. And finally, and this is the important part, we'll build your scientific toolkit with practical steps you can start using tonight. Okay, let's start by really defining the problem. You know, for centuries, folklore called this time of night the witching hour, a time when the veil between worlds was thin and all sorts of supernatural things were supposedly happening. But today, we've got a much better, much more scientific explanation. It's not ghosts or ghouls waking you up. It's your own biology. So the real clinical term for this specific issue is sleep maintenance insomnia. Now, the key word there is maintenance. This isn't about the struggle to fall asleep in the first place. Actually, people with this condition often feel exhausted. They get into bed and they fall asleep almost immediately. The real problem, the absolute core of the issue, isn't getting to sleep. It's staying there.
Let's just draw a really clear line here. So on the left, you've got onset insomnia. This is what most of us picture when we hear the word. It's that difficulty of falling asleep at the beginning of the night. But on the right, that's what we're focusing on today, maintenance insomnia. The battle here isn't at 10 p.m., it's at 3 a.m., long after you've already been asleep for hours.
And this kicks off a truly vicious cycle. You wake up feeling groggy, completely unrested, because your sleep was broken. So what do? You power through the day on caffeine, which only messes with your body's natural rhythms even more. By the evening, you feel totally drained, but also weirdly alert, that classic frustrating, tired and wired feeling. And then you finally just collapse into bed, only for the cycle to begin all over again when your eyes snap open a few hours later. It's a trap that can feel absolutely impossible to escape.
And you know, the psychological toll of this cycle can be just immense. You start to dread the night. You develop what's known as sleep anxiety. Your bed, which should be your sanctuary, a place for rest and recovery, starts to feel like a battleground, a place where you're just destined to lie awake and wrestle with your own thoughts. And this is a really critical point. This isn't just about being tired. It's about the fear and anxiety that start to build around the very act of sleeping itself.
So that brings us right to the central question. Why 3 a.m.? It feels so random, but I promise you, it's not. There is a perfect storm of biological events happening inside your body right around this time. We're gonna explore the 3 key culprits behind this wake-up call: your sleep architecture, your hormones, and your blood sugar. First, let's talk about the architecture of your sleep. See, sleep isn't just one solid block of being unconscious. It actually moves in these cycles that last about 90 minutes each, going from light sleep to deep sleep, and then into REM, or dream sleep. In the first half of the night, your body is all about that deep, restorative sleep. But by the time you get to the early morning hours, around 3 a.m., you've already completed a few of these cycles. Your body then naturally shifts its priorities. It starts spending less time in deep sleep and way more time in that lighter, REM-dominant sleep. And that makes your sleep inherently more fragile and makes you far more vulnerable to waking up. Next up is the great hormonal battle that's happening inside you every single night. On one side, you've got melatonin, often called the hormone of darkness, which rises in the evening to make you feel sleepy. And on the other, you have cortisol, the stress and alertness hormone, which is supposed to drop at night. But something really fascinating happens right around 3 a.m. Melatonin levels start to fall just as your body begins a slow, steady release of cortisol. It's your body's way of getting you ready to wake up a few hours later. This natural rise in cortisol is called the cortisol awakening response. Now, for someone with normal stress levels, it's just a gentle little nudge toward morning. But, and this is a big but, if you are chronically stressed or burned out, your baseline cortisol levels are already way too high. So, when this natural bump happens, it doesn't feel like a nudge, it feels like a shot of adrenaline, jolting you wide awake in a full fight or flight state. Your body genuinely thinks there's an immediate threat, and its only response is to wake you up, right now. The third piece of our biological puzzle is blood sugar. Your brain is an incredibly hungry organ, and it needs a constant supply of fuel, even when you're asleep. Now let's say you ate a dinner high in sugar or refined carbs. You get this big initial spike in your blood sugar, but as we all know, what goes up must come down. And this often leads to a sudden crash, a state we call hypoglycemia, right around, you guessed it, 3 a.m. And here's how your brain reacts to that fuel crisis. It sees this sudden drop in energy as a major emergency. To fix it, it floods your system with stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, which tell your liver to release stored glucose. It's a brilliant survival mechanism, really, but it has one major side effect. That huge rush of adrenaline yanks you right out of sleep. So you're not just awake, you're awake and feeling anxious because your body literally just panicked about its fuel supply.
Okay, so we've covered the biological triggers, but what about the psychological experience? I mean, why does a worry that seems totally manageable at 3 in the afternoon feel absolutely catastrophic at 3 in the morning? Well, the answer lies in which parts of your brain are on the night shift.
Think of your brain like a big company. During the day, the CEO is in charge. That's your prefrontal cortex. It's logical, it's rational, and it's great at putting problems into perspective. But at night, well, the CEO goes offline to rest. Meanwhile, the company's super-sensitive alarm system, your amygdala, the emotional fear center, it never really sleeps. It stays active, constantly scanning for potential threats. And this is the result. When you wake up at 3 a.m., your emotional alarm system is on high alert, but the rational CEO that would normally calm it down is completely offline. This explains everything. It's why you feel all the raw, unfiltered emotion of a crisis with absolutely none of the logical perspective you need to talk yourself down. In the absence of reason, small worries just inflate into these terrifying monsters. And these principles show up in different ways for different people. For example, you might be the stressed executive. Their high baseline cortisol from work plus late-night screen time perfectly primes them for that 3 a.m. adrenaline jolt. Or maybe you're the wine and dine sleeper. You get hit with a double whammy of the alcohol rebound effect, which is stimulating, and a blood sugar crash from a heavy meal. And then there's the worried parent. Their brain is in this constant state of hypervigilance, where any little disturbance is seen as a potential danger signal. Okay, we have defined the problem, we've explored the science behind it, now we have arrived at the most important part, the solution. So let's assemble a scientific toolkit with 5 concrete, actionable steps you can take to reclaim your night. Here are the 5 pillars of our strategy. Each one is designed to counteract the biological and psychological forces we've been talking about. First, we need to stabilize your blood sugar. Second, we will proactively manage your cortisol levels. Third, we have to obey the crucial 20-minute rule. Fourth, we've got to help our bodies cool down. And finally, number 5, we'll learn some tools to manually regulate our nervous system if we do happen to wake up. Let's start with step 1, stabilize that blood sugar. To prevent that 3 a.m. crash, you can use what I call the bedtime snack hack. About an hour before bed, have a small snack that's rich in protein and healthy fats. We're talking a handful of almonds, a small piece of cheese, or an apple with some peanut butter. These foods digest slowly, giving your brain a steady, gentle stream of fuel all night long. This prevents that blood sugar crash, so your brain never has a reason to hit the panic button and release those stress hormones. Next up, let's manage that cortisol. About 2 hours before bed, I want you to perform a brain dump. This is incredibly simple, but it is so effective. Take a piece of paper and a pen and just write down everything. Every worry, every to-do item, anything that's taking up space in your head. By getting it out of your head and onto the paper, you're basically externally storing those thoughts. You're sending a powerful signal to your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, that says, hey, this is all captured. It's safe. You can stand down now. You don't need to keep reminding me about it at 3 a.m. Okay, this next rule is a little counterintuitive and it might be the hardest one to follow, but it is absolutely essential. It is the 20-minute rule. If you wake up and find yourself still awake after what feels like 20 minutes, you must get out of bed. Lying there tossing and turning only trains your brain to associate your bed with frustration and anxiety. We have to break that connection. So get up.
Go to another room, keep the lights as dim as possible, and do something mind-numbingly boring. Read a user manual. Listen to some ambient music. The goal is not to entertain yourself. You only go back to bed when you feel that physical wave of sleepiness actually washing over you again. Fourth, let's talk temperature. A drop in your core body temperature is one of the most powerful biological signals for sleep. Your body is just programmed to cool down at night. So help it along. Keep your bedroom cool. Sleep experts recommend around 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius. You can also supercharge this process by taking a warm bath or shower about an hour before bed. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you get out of the warm water, the rapid evaporation from your skin makes your core temperature plummet, and that sends a massive time for sleep signal right to your brain. And finally, if you do wake up feeling anxious, here are 2 tools to manually calm your nervous system right in the moment. First is 4-7-8 breathing. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then exhale slowly through your mouth for a full 8 seconds. That long exhale stimulates something called the vagus nerve, which activates your body's relaxation response. It's like a natural tranquilizer. The second tool is cognitive shuffling. The goal here is just to gently distract your brain. Visualize a series of random, boring, emotionally neutral objects: a toaster, a cow, a stapler. This technique stops your anxious mind from latching onto a real worry and just spiraling out of control. So let's bring all this together. If there is one single thing I want you to take away from our time today, let it be this. Waking up at 3 a.m. is not a moral failing. It does not mean you are broken or weak or doomed to be tired forever. It is simply a signal. That's all it is. It's your body sending you a message that something, your stress, your diet, your environment, needs a small, gentle adjustment. By understanding the science we've talked about today, you can fundamentally shift your whole perspective. You no longer have to be a passive victim of this so-called witching hour. You now have the knowledge and the tools to become the architect of your own rest, to prepare for the night with intention, and to respond with kindness and strategy if you do happen to wake up. I want to leave you with this final thought. We have all been there, lying in the dark as our brain produces the most bizarre and outsized worries imaginable. And there's a lot of comfort in knowing we're not alone in that. So my question for you is, what is the craziest, most ridiculous thought your brain has ever produced at 3 a.m.? Go ahead and share it in the comments, and let's all realize we're in this thing together. Thank you so much for watching, and sweet dreams.